Hello, it's Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple. I wanted to share with you a 4-week course that I am currently going to offer in the next coming month. So I've decided to run this out in June, and all the details will be in the link below this video. I was working with archetypes as a student for many years, and looking at the different archetypes within my whole psyche. So for those of you who are not familiar with archetypes, every single human being has certain qualities to their psychology and their behaviour. And these different types of archetypes will dominate the way we live our lives. So for example, I have teacher archetype because I've been a school teacher, and obviously I'm a spiritual teacher now. There are different archetypes that live within us all that have dominated our life that we've not really been aware of, and some that we have. But for me, the archetypes are really powerful in helping me ascertain my behaviours, and particularly those behaviours that are not good for me, or that lead me astray, or don't lead me into my power. So I started to study the Jungian archetypes under a teacher, Carolyn Mace, and then I've done several courses in archetypes, some of the Jungian work, and it has really been beneficial for me in many ways because it's changed certain situations. The 4, what we call the survival archetypes, are the child, the prostitute, the victim, and the saboteur. And these archetypes live within the whole of human psychology. So every person has these archetypes within the behaviour. So when I started to study these 4 areas, I was completely and utterly shocked at how much they dominated my behaviour and my life. So for example, the child, as Jung describes as Peter Pan, is the eternal child, and many of us as adults have this eternal child within us that doesn't grow up or acts in certain ways because of certain traumas or wounds or situations that have happened in our life. So for example, I have a very angry inner child, and I call her she because I've even given her a name. She has a certain behaviour. And I can instantly recognise now when that inner child is coming through my subconscious behaviour and into my conscious behaviour. So that's why I really love working with these archetypes. The thing with the archetypes is that it's very, very real and raw, and you can identify certain behaviours. So the other one's the victim, and whenever I fall into victim consciousness, that means I might say, oh, that person did that to me, or this happened to me, or if this hadn't have been that way, I wouldn't be the way I am. And the victim really allowed for me to be powerless for many situations in my life, because the victim doesn't let you come into your power and to take control. And then there's the saboteur, the part of you that sabotages everything. Something good comes away along and you can't recognise it, and you come into sabotaging patterns. So how do you know when you're in saboteur? How do you recognise the internal dialect that the saboteur speaks to you in? And then we've got the prostitute, where we sell ourselves out. And this is a real difficult one for me. This is one I've had to struggle with for many years, and still battle with prostitute energy, is selling myself short, giving myself away. So we have to really look at these 4 survival archetypes, because we're in survival mode a lot of the time, and these 4 archetypes are playing through our behaviours. And when we start to recognise the language, the voice, and that's what I've been doing recently. I've been in a few containers, and one shadow container, working with the deep psychological impact of my 4 survival archetypes, and looking at what shadow behaviours that they have in my world, and how they dictate and manifest my 3D life in ways that I don't want them to, you know. And I mean, there are places that I want change and I'm unable to change them. I'm trying and trying and trying, and it just doesn't change. I know there's an archetypal pattern there. So I go into that archetype. What is this archetypal pattern playing out in me? How can I recognize the voice and the things that I'm doing that play into the archetype that need to be changed? So yeah, I've just come out of that container and had some really big breakthroughs with my own work, with my own life, in my relationship, and in all different areas, which I'll discuss in more detail in the group. So what I've decided is I'm going to run a 4-week course on the archetypes. We will be looking in depth at what those archetypes do, how they behave, what their language is in you. This is going to be a course where I deliver a video. I will put a video into the group on that specific archetype, and then I'll get you lot to start to map out how the archetype has come in your life. So you'll be doing this both visually, in a meditation. There'll be a practice per week. So the first week we will look at the child archetype, and the video will be put into the group, and then there will be a practice for those 7 days. The second week we'll go into the next archetype. So 4 weeks you should get a really clear indication of how those 4 archetypes are working in your life, and you will be able to hear the voice of them up here when they come to guide you. So for example, I was about to embark on a course, and this course cost a lot of money, and the archetype in me, which is the saboteur, was like, nope, you are not going to do that course, it costs too much money, da, 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 da. And I recognized the voice of the saboteur straight away. So I was like, this is my saboteur, and the saboteur will stop me entering into a more magical field, into a field that will allow me to grow. So I heard that voice and I was like, okay, that's my saboteur, I'm not going to listen to it. So I went against it, took the course, and many things changed for me in my work. So there are definite dialogues that are going on in your head from these 4 survival basic archetypes, and they will make themselves very clear to you in this course. So you should get a deep grasp, and we're going to be living for 7 days with each of those archetypes, so we get to know them inside out within us. So yeah, I wanted to just share this video to give you a bit more oomph about what it's about and what we're going to do. The private group that we'll have, I will post the resources in there, but you will be asked and invited to post every day. You can be sharing at the end of the day what you felt, what you heard, what you didn't understand, and I will be giving you daily feedback, daily guidance, trying to really provoke and push you into more understanding of how this is playing out in your world and how it's affecting your life. So I'm hoping radical change in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, you'll know these archetypes, how they're playing out for you and how they're controlling your life, and hopefully massive changes will occur in your life. So if you're interested, I will post underneath this video the link to the event, and if you want to sign up, just let me know and I will arrange for you to be put into that group ready to start in June. I'm going to open the group in the next few days because I'd like to be posting some information in there that might be helpful to all those that are going to get ready to do this work. So hopefully I will be meeting some of you in my group. Take care until then. Bye.